DreamHack Open is brought to you by Astro, Monster Energy, Corsair, Hacks, and GGBet.
There are a few cities like Valencia able to harmoniously combine the remnants of the farthest past dating back to the year 138 BC with the most innovative and avant-garde buildings from the new millennium. Valencia is a trade culture, cinema, theater, museums, magic, and business really do make this place shine bright on the Spanish map. And of course, as always, the DreamHack Open here in Valencia, 2018 edition. My name is Trey Saranthus. Of course, I want to give a thanks to the sponsors for all making this possible. It's going to be Astro, Corsair, Monster Energy, and Hacks. Now, we just saw the first matchup of the day, in which North took on the Team Giants, the local hometown favorites. Of course, now we're going to be flipping the script. We're going to be going to a little bit of Luminosity and a little bit of G2. Two names that have been a part of the CSGO ecosystem for quite some time, and both have some way able to have a heavy hitter aspect to them.
In this group, yeah, I think any team can kind of make it through in the top two position. G2, however, now my #1 favorites for the whole tournament. Now with that North roster change, we have to see how they progress throughout. But G2, based off of their interesting results in Cologne, should lead into this one here and this matchup and this group as the #1 team. The problem is when your best map is Dust 2 and you're playing best of ones, that's where life can get a little bit shaky because Dust 2 is where you want to take it if you historically on Dust 2.
True, but then again, if you look at G2's losses in Cologne, right, it's like against the likes of an Astralis, the likes of a Big.
Well, hold up a second. What are you saying about Big?
I'm not saying nothing. I'm just saying.
It feels like you're saying Big are good, so we need to backtrack a little bit.
I think they played pretty decently, at least on Dust 2, that best of one.
Yeah, that was the 16 one.
Of course, I mean, Gabi loves Dust 2. It almost makes sense for them to do really good on Dust 2. But also as much sense as us finding out what maps we're going to be playing here against G2 and Luminosity.
Dust 2.
You think so?
I could be completely wrong.
I think it's Inferno, Cash.
If I had Henny on my team, I'd want him running around on a map like that, just open people
just
in
out
the
of
head.
control.
Yeah, he is pretty out of control. But that's one of the things we should probably touch on a little bit is the fact that Henny and Lucas are the most recent additions back to this roster. Yeah. Showtime got the boot again. He's gotten the boot out of so many teams now.
Feel bad for him.
Poor guy.
But think about this team, right? You've got the Twins. You've got Steel. They're also bringing veterancy in. These guys have been playing for a while now.
That's too bad by Luminosity. That's surprising.
Oh, I wonder if we'll see Inferno again.
It's going to be Inferno. Yep. Oh, joy.
Inferno for the second map as well as the first map of the day. But this one's going to be just a little bit different. I think this one could be a little bit more heavyweight of a bout.
I think we're going to get a scoreline and it's definitely be more back and forth in a lot of regards. I think there are playmakers on the Luminosity roster who could make things difficult for that of G2. But if you look at this and you look at how well Kenny has been playing, throughout his coming into this team, and then on the likes of things, if Shox can just play up to that level as well, those two guys can just win a game on their own. So looking at them right here on your screen, the man in the middle, Mr. Existence, back in business as the in-game leader. Strategically speaking, there have been some cool things coming out from G2. Their mid-round decision-making, the way that they know that Smiths and Existence aren't heavy hitters in terms of frags, even though Smiths has had some big games, just the way that they pivot those players around on the CT side. They're working on mitigating those issues, and if you look towards a team that just won ESO1 Cologne, they had some weaknesses and they were still able to win an entire event, so maybe good signs for a team like G2.
Maybe good signs indeed, and of course G2, when we talk about these players in this team, Kenny S., this is a guy that you don't want to get started in the map, especially early on. But, I think they're going to meet their match right there, maybe perhaps with Henny.
Could be, but then again, like just speaking about Kenny S, right? I mean, this guy's going to step up every single time. Body's been pretty decent as well. Here's the thing: Shox hasn't really woken up yet. He's been comparatively very quiet. At the moment he hits his stride, this is throughout his entire career, he has his entire streaks where he's like just nowhere in the server or he's just a god. And if he hits that stride, it's going to be a very scary team indeed. Existence has been doing his work as well. He's been fragging pretty decently. Not bad at all. And overall, the team as such right now, I think it's on an upward trajectory, and they can only get better going forth.
Well, they surprised in Cologne, right? In the sense of there were so many other teams there who should have made it to the playoffs that didn't, and G2 were one of the names which somehow sprung towards the top with a good display of Counter-Strike. I think we're ushering back in a more tactical era. So to have existence back within that guard is a fantastic thing for this G2 roster, and maybe French Counter-Strike can get back to where it once was, because we found that middle period where everything got very muddled. Just became 4 spies and all the likes.
Well, G2, not far from home, but these other players are coming straight from across the pond. That's Luminosity Gaming. And several names here that you can recognize, and I think, in fact, at this point, probably all of them. These guys are poised to have a pretty explosive time in the server, should they all come online today.
They've all been in North America for a long period of time now, right? Even the Neckers and Yell, who are names that might not come to mind, have been there for a significant, I think it's probably almost 2 years at this point that they've been living in North America and playing there. And when you have Steel there doing the in-game leadership role, you have to think about it. This trio of Lucas, Steel, and Henny were all playing together at the major of PGL Krakow, which was this time last year, where they made it to the grand final, which was just mind-blowing, right? They were playing fantastic Counter-Strike. Sure, it was very explosive. It wasn't really what we were expecting to see, but that whole event was an upset. And they have, the history together to get that far in an event. And hey, if Bolt gets booted out of MIBR, which is meant to be happening, maybe we could remake the team.
Is there something that you know that we don't know, Chad?
That Bolts is going to get kicked out of MIBR soon?
Oof. Well, there's no Bolts here today, but perhaps there is a fit for him on this team if that were to happen.
Maybe a couple of nuts.
Who knows? A couple of Bolts, a couple of nuts. Just a couple of...
hanging in the breeze.
My goodness. Well, we're going to take a look a little bit further into this lineup. I mean, yes, Yell and Nekas are both relatively not as known players, but they've been with this Luminosity lineup for quite some time. Yeah. They are the only remaining players from that original lineup that I believe went over to Luminosity.
Yeah, the thing with this lineup, though, this particular lineup, I don't think it's ever played on LAN ever.
No, they played online, right? In the DreamHack Stockholm qualifier,
yeah,
maybe?
Just on online games, I think, here and there. And they've been very shaky, right? So even though, like you mentioned, Chad, like you have Steel coming back, you have Henny, you have Lucas coming back, but then again, despite having played at least 2 or 3 online qualifiers, they've been looking very shaky indeed.
The roles should be very clear just looking at it on paper with the 3 players that we know a lot of, right? Henny, the star role, are going to be very explosive. Lucas, the entry fragger, going and getting the dirty work done, can also clutch quite well. Steel is just a rock who, in retakes can be very pivotal. Him and as a player like locking down bomb sites, just doing a lot of the dirty work, then that leaves a lot of room for the other 2 players to slot themselves in. Now, if you look towards highlight clips of like Yell and Neckers and stuff, they're definitely players who can hit shots. I don't know why things aren't clicking. Maybe it's just one of these time scenarios, which I'm almost getting fed up of saying at this point, because Counter-Strike is constantly in a point of flux. Yeah, it's always, oh, well, the roster's new, or see this, that, and the other. They need time. I'm not so sure that should be the storyline of the case anymore within CSGO, but the storyline that you need to know if you're in the Twitch chat right now, getting weird, you should also maybe include one of these in there. Exclamation point G2 if you think they will win, and of course exclamation point LG if Luminosity will be taking this one home. Get your vote in the chat, not in the chat. Well, you could probably put it there as well. My Instagram, @ChadVirtual, follow me there. Slide into the DMs.
Yeah, man.
That's a personal plug. But I think on a map like Inferno, it's going to be a lot more difficult for the plays to be made from the guys from Luminosity, right? Because they're more explosive. But this is a tactical map where you need to be more, I guess, smart about the way you're going to approach scenarios. If Henny can bust up mid and find an opening kill onto Kenny on that arch side with the AWP, sure, that's a great step in the right direction. But you can't do that round and round again.
I mean, we've talked about this team playing online, but perhaps we maybe focus on Henny and Lucas. They've been kind of off the radar, so to say. On the backs of some other misfortunes.
A lot has happened.
There's a lot going on there.
We could make a TV drama out of that.
In fact, a totally different DreamHack Open. But it's been some time since that's transpired, and now these guys are back and seemingly heading in the right direction.
Well, they were left in limbo for a very long time, right? Because they were playing for the NTC roster, and then I believe that they wanted to get rid of one of them or 2 of them or whatever.
It is a little muddled, to be honest. Like, too many
they were left in limbo for quite a long period of time where they weren't actually doing anything, right? They were just Instagramming, putting stuff on their story. They were back in Brazil. They weren't really playing Counter-Strike, right? They definitely weren't in a team. So you have to keep that in mind for these boys.
How about this, guys? Let's go ahead and jump into some actual predictions. We know the map. We know the teams. We know the variables. We know what's going on here usually, but who do you have to win, Chad?
G2.
Okay, reasonable.
Yeah, best of 1, whatnot, G2.
I'm going to say...
I was going to say Luminosity.
Luminosity, just to go against the grain here.
Oh, you just want to be different.
Unlike
you to want to be different, Trace.
I usually try to fly under the radar, out of sight, out of mind. But yes, so we got 2 for G2, myself for Luminosity. I think that the boys from Brazil are ready to turn up.
Why don't you change that? Why don't you try and get as many predictions wrong as possible?
Okay, you want me to start with that one?
Yeah.
Thank you for covering my bases. let's jump into a 3 reasons here by Hacks. And I think it's going to be your turn, Blay.
Oh.
Oh,
Okay.
no, this is me. I didn't put my name at the end. Swing the camera to me. Swing it over. This is my bad. I didn't put my name at the end of the document. I'm still learning how to use spreadsheets. All right, see, this could be illuminating. You see what I like to do there? But this is very easy. We can bring the 3 reasons up very quickly. Lucas, Henny, and Steele. We already talked about all 3 of these players significantly, and this is because they played together this time last year at the PGL Major in Krakow, where they made it to the grand final. There is this unit. It is a core. They can come together. They can reminisce. They can really be like, boys, let's do it. Have a bit of a Mighty Ducks storyline. Maybe the old jerseys can come back out. I'm not sure, but this is why it could be an exciting matchup, because this core has proven in the past they can get it done on the big stages.
Well, this is a stage of sorts, and I do believe that the blood's got to be flowing within that Luminosity booth right now. I think that those guys are
I hope so. They'd be dead.
What?
They'd be dead if the blood wasn't flowing.
Thank you, Chad, for the analysis. Again, you can pay for that analysis. Head over to his Instagram. My God. Let's move forward, though, because we can take a look at some of the votes that you guys put into the chat yourselves and just see how it all kind of unfolded within the chat world. They're also feeling G2.
Sensible humans out there.
Reasonable.
Yeah, we've had a big change since that first game where I think it was Giants.
55, yeah.
That just shows like the certain amount of society that probably needs to go get their heads checked.
Well, we're not going to be doing any head checks around here. There will be no free lobotomies courtesy of the company. However, we will be telling you about our friends over at Snipe. Head over to dreamhack.com/digitalpass. Pick up one of those so that you can head over to Snipe and catch all of this content and much, 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 much more. Chat, what do we know about Snipe?
There's multiple POVs. You can catch all the action at once. You can choose and select however way you want to view. I actually did some content for them in the past doing interviews, so maybe go back and watch some of that because it's great stuff.
Great content brought to you courtesy of Snipe. Thank you, Chad, for that also additional plug on top of mine. Let's go ahead and head over to the commentators who will be bringing you the action here. It's going to be Hugo. It's going to be Scrawny. Scrawny, can you see us, bud?
I dropped my glasses under the desk just as this was coming our way. I can't really see, I got to be honest.
Oh, well, I guess you guys can see your way through to this matchup.
We will. See you guys in a bit. So, Hugo, map number 2. It's getting ready. G2 Luminosity. I think you could argue G2 in a better place than North at this current moment, if you want to. And then at the same time, I'd say LG obviously a step up from what we saw from Giants. So I do think that, again, as we add Inferno into this equation, we are going to get one of those back and forth type situations. I would love to see this comeback from Lucas and Henny happen. I'd love to see them really kind of hit those strides and hit those shots as we jump into this one.
And what a game it would be to win for them, right? You know, with North obviously making recent roster changes, now we have G2 probably the favorites in this event. While unproven in terms of multiple events, they've only had one good run, that was Cologne. You know, the potential of this roster is unlimited, I would say. You know, I'd say this G2 team has the potential of being the best team in the world at some point. So, yeah, there's definitely a chance here for Luminosity, but at the end of the day, we did see G2's pretty invaluable run the other day, you know, getting some insane victories, beating the winners of Cologne in the group stage, 16-14, that being Na'Vi, finding games against, you know, Mouse Sports, going to overtime against Astralis. You know, there were some real signs of life here from this French team. So I wouldn't say it's quite an easy win for Luminosity or an easy game for them to you know, go neck and neck, but hey, if they were to get an upset, this would be a pretty incredible one.
Yeah, definitely neck and neck is. When I see Inferno pop up, and it's obviously the first map of this event for G2, I instantly think back to their first showing here in Cologne, right?
Yeah.
And it was, of course, Smiths who drops over 25 kills on an opening game of Inferno. So obviously you look at the stars of G2, right? You look at this consistency from body. We look at Kenny S and his incredible AWP play. But if you also have Smith stepping up as a third star, if Existence can hold his own, and then we're not even talking about Shocks yet. Like, the capability and the potential for this roster is so huge, Hugo, that I just could see them easily leaping over top of Luminosity, but at that same time, I don't know yet what to expect from this Brazilian lineup on LAN. And that's the beauty of this matchup, is it's going to be their first opportunity to turn heads.
Yeah, of course, we've had Luminosity play this new G2 lineup in ECS, of course, in London, but this was without the 2 latest additions, and I'd say arguably the 2 best players now on the team, thanks to Lucas and Henny, or at least they should be. It's really just down to whether they can reach that skill potential that we know, as was mentioned on the desk, you know, their major final run. Yeah, in fact, in that Inferno game that you mentioned between G2 and Na'Vi, Smiths went 11-3 in duels against Simple. 11 won duels, 3 lost duels, and it was a 16-14. It wasn't like it was a one-sided game. So, yeah, there's some real potential in this roster. I'm really excited to see if Smith can keep up that consistency, right? Because again, he was kind of the weak link, I would say, going into this roster. Everyone was going, great team, but Smith, he's not played. He's been a coach for so long, and then he comes in and has a stellar performance in Cologne. That really has uprooted everything.
It's like to bring him back into the lineup alongside Existence. It's like you know the clear argument for including Existence, and that is his tactical mind for this game, his great calling ability mid-round and whatnot, which Sponge has said we've seen this rise of. So that was his kind of chip on the shoulder. Whereas what was Smith supposed to bring, other than of course the firepower, which he has so far. So props to him. And I always love seeing this, right? There's two types of new rosters, Hugo. It's when you have new players that come out of nowhere, right? When they're given their first big break, and that's always fun and exciting to see. And then you get these comebacks, guys who take time away from the game only to return and then leave another mark, right? And the French players do it. RPK, I immediately think of him and the way that he's been able to get himself back to the top of the scene after having that extended pause. So there's no reason that Smiths in Existence can't do this.
Well, it's not just the French side that have had maybe some extended pauses, although shorter, as was already said. These two guys, and Lucas and Henny, taking a break after their previous NTC team and then going back to Brazil, coming into this lineup. I mean, it's been a whole whirlwind of emotions for these guys, and now to see them back up again on the big stage, up against one of the best teams in the world, maybe, just maybe, we could have another rise to success. We know how passionate some of these Brazilian players can be. And the level that they can aspire to as well is pretty incredible. So I'm excited to see. I don't want to even throw in a prediction on this. G2 should win, but I really want to see Luminosity perform here.
I just want to see a slugfest, right? I want that back and forth matchup, which we could be getting ourselves into. Once G2 grabbed themselves back into their seats, we saw the huddle backstage, Hugo. Top secret strats. Existence leading by example.
And that's been one of the big things as well that I've been mentioning, at least during Cologne. Like, this is the test for Existence. If this roster can't find success, at least strategically, this is, where does Existence even go from here, right? He's got the best pieces he's had in years. And the level that some of these players are up as well in terms of Kenny S, he was one of the MVP or EVPs of Cologne, despite they obviously got knocked out in the semis against Big, the quarters against Big, and it's crazy to see the level that some of these players are performing at. So if this team can find success, that's great for Existence. If they can't, then I'd say it's coming down to that strategy.
What I love about Existence as well is that now all of a sudden he's found himself in a whole other tier and caliber of Counter-Strike. But when we look at the way he was playing back when he was on LDLC and kind of in the depths of Mountain Dew League and in this lower echelon of Counter-Strike, he was a hard carry at times. Oh, yeah. Like he never fell off from that kind of level of play, right? He wasn't in that league and then struggling either. It's like he's always been a level above that tier of Counter-Strike, and now he's got his chance back in where he is, you could argue, outweighed by some, but we'll give him a chance to speak for himself. I do also like that Sponge brought up the fact that we have seen G2 try to circumvent the fact that, Smiths in Existence may not be able to go to toe-to-toe with everyone and the way that they've positioned them in these mid-round scenarios, and it's like, what's really nice about this project from G2 is I think this is what a lot of these players wanted, right? Shox obviously gets what he wants. He's been with Smiths forever. Whether that be in a coach role or now back as a teammate, they got Existence into lead, and I'm so happy they kept Kenny S because I don't think he belongs anywhere else but the very best French team. And then Body. I mean, Body has been this younger player who was given a big chance with G2, and he's still been able to carve out his own section of this lineup, right? Clearly, all of these experienced French stars recognize and appreciate what he has to offer. So we'll see who exactly steps up for them on Inferno versus Luminosity in just a bit. We've got the huddle. We heard the cheer. Allez-y. Encourage.
Oh, you're throwing in the French now, Connor.
I like to dabble.
Got any Spanish to please the crowd that you can give us?
Not too much.
No. Well, we do have a Spanish organization here, at least in the form of G2, of course, Ocelot.
That's true. I hadn't thought of that.
So we've had Spanish in every team apart from Luminosity so far. Obviously, Mixwell in North. We had Giants just then, and now we've got G2. So maybe a bit of a home crowd advantage to some extent, Story. Although I don't think G2 really need the home crowd advantage to get ahead in this game this should definitely be somewhere that they are a little more comfortable. And even though it is Inferno, a bit of a middle ground map for G2, surprised to see that come through considering it's Luminosity's second most played, but Dust 2 was early vetoed from Luminosity, and again, I don't really blame them. While Chad was saying it'd be great to see just Heady running around on that map, take into account on the other side of things, you have Kenny S to play against on Dust 2. That's a bit of a frightening storyline right there.
It's like, sure, Henny can play into his strengths, but not if Kenny locks him down.
Yeah.
Which is always very possible. What I'm excited to see in the bigger picture of this one matchup in particular is, we had our showing from North, and it started with a shaky first 7 rounds. And then they were able to kind of re-solidify themselves, and they just completely obliterated the Giants. Now, you could argue North are still one of the favorites for this event. I think this event has so much upset potential once we start getting into those decider BO3s, the Fragsters, the VPs, the AGO. This is going to be our first eyes on G2 here in Valencia, so we'll see how stable their legs are as they look to stand tall in their opening matchup. And I don't think they have the easiest of ones because there is an essence of unknowingness with Luminosity. We still don't know what to expect from these guys in a LAN environment, except for that, as the desk was mentioning, we had this core lineup make that incredible Krakow run. So we know the skill ceiling is high, but where do they stand at this current moment? That's the question.
Yeah, again, the question of time comes into this one for both teams, really, but G2 have already proven they can hold their own up against some of the best in the world in Cologne, and now they get the chance to maybe bully some other opponents. They want to, but will Luminosity give them that satisfaction? Because again, like, this team, I feel like for me, Luminosity has always been a team on the edge of success. Constant roster changes have never helped, but they've been able to qualify for top LAN events like ECS before. They've played in Montreal. They've had moments in the spotlight, but they've never really been able to grasp them and go that extra mile.
And I think right now would be a fantastic time for them to do that because we have this flux in Brazilian Counter-Strike. I mean, even MIBR are in this weird place right now, right? But for the longest time, we haven't had that second Brazilian team succeeding on an international level. We hadn't had that kind of, SK/Immortals era. We haven't had that rivalry with Brazil. So if Luminosity want to cement themselves as the up-and-comers, then this is their chance. Taking down G2 would be huge. And a best of 1 on Inferno, that's not impossible.
Yeah, even not just taking down, but getting out of this group. Again, they've got a pretty difficult one. We've got the likes of VP in here. Again, question marks on that team, as are always, inconsistencies for years now on the VP side. But that's still a game that Luminosity, I think, maybe have a chance in. And Fractors as well, another rising Danish team in Group B. But like I would say, Fractors, again, inconsistent. It doesn't seem like they can constantly get the performances that we know they can have.
They have had an atrocious month.
Yeah.
I think since the beginning of June, of something like 35 online games played, they've only won 10 or 11.
Yeah.
And I think like the majority of those 11 come in the first week of June. So if you look at just recent results, they have been awful. And in a Mountain Dew League, in online games versus teams that they should just be succeeding over, we saw these guys play at Betsnet where they really kind of cemented themselves. We saw them with performances in Copenhagen Games as well. They've had those LAN experiences, and we'll see if they can do the heavy hitting later today, because this is what will bring you now, friends. G2 Esports Luminosity in the opening matchup of Group B. And it is G2 on the T side, already working their way up middle. And it's going to be Lucas to try to lock this down, but Smiths and Kenny find themselves entries, and it is not looking good. He tries to bail, and he can't. Henny to the back of the site. USP is up, but the head is blasted back. And what happened to the CTs here, Hugo? Because they're all gone.
Well, that is the firepower for G2 that we know and love, Connor. Everyone finding opening kills there, running up into the A-bomb site. And yeah, okay, maybe we don't have the deepest of strat books called out for that pistol round, but we do have the heavy hitters shining through. A strong start now for the French team to go ahead with their pistol on the T side of Inferno, and a couple of kills as well for Body to cement that as well. Cement that in the pistol. I do like it when players try and reload in pistols and turn around to hide their hitbox.
Yeah,
I like that.
I don't know if he was hiding to reload or just hiding in fear at that moment.
Yeah.
I remember Ricky on overpass A bomb site where he pulls that off and then whips back for the one tap.
I've seen Angel do it as well on Cobble back last year. Those are
the only two times I can remember actually working.
Yeah.
So this one clearly didn't help.
Look at this buy though for G2. 4 rifles into the second round. We had the polar opposite for North when they won their T-side pistol. 4 SMGs, in fact. So G2, none of this bonus round madness. They just want to take heavy gunfights early on, and Deagle's up for Luminosity, fighting into the middle. That's a great smoke spam. 2 players firing through, and Nekkis is going to get the early kill. Trade right back through the smoke, but look at the damage impacted onto G2.
That is literally all through smoke.
Yeah.
All of that damage. Easily over 200. And they get a kill. Shock's down for the count. Now, they did have this stack going on towards Coffin, and while that would have been a prime position for some kind of a pushback versus a banana peak, they realize that CT has been open for the taking. So now there's this question mark, right? Did you just leave Lucas and Henny abandoned? Or do you start to move those A players over? Kenny lucky to be alive as he takes another shot to the chest. Still, these CTs are so isolated. Their teammates trying to come over. Body gets caught with a grenade in hand, and that's certainly not going to help. But the bomb has gotten itself within the site, and still Luminosity reside within construction. They've cleared out CT, now they know, but in the transition of all this, G2 have gotten this bomb plant, and in a 3 versus 4 scenario, there's now an AK being thrown around, and it is in the hands of Steel. He has Kevlar and a helmet, and another kill. Smith's down, Yell finding existence off of the peak, and there you have it. 5 Deagles, 4 bought up into this, and they somehow manage the round.
And that is all coming off the back of the smoke spam. Let's remember Luminosity starting the round off not only with a man advantage that was swiftly traded, but 2 players on 20 HP. That meant body shots with guns, with pretty much any gun is going to be, forcing these players down on the T side. So really nice work from Luminosity. Great retake from Steel as well to pick up a couple of kills there. And that will be the second round forced by having some effect. But bomb plant for G2. They are French, Connor. They are going to buy into this, but not fully.
I was going to say, if there's another thing that we've noticed with G2 since Existence's return, it's the fact that, we're not getting these ridiculous force buys over and over from G2 anymore. And I was going to bring that in the previous round because we solved those rifles. I was going to say, nice, we're not only getting this distance away from force buys, but we're also now getting distanced away from the full French SMG purchase. So that was something to take note.
The problem with that, though, is now because they've lost the second round, they've given all these guns over to Luminosity for free. We've got 5 rifles here, 3 of them saved from the previous round, so Luminosity armed to the teeth.
Armed to the teeth, but not showing that grin. Not yet. They're just sitting so far back at the moment. Understandably so. You don't want to get just wrecked by these pistols. I feel like Steel could be a liability as he is still very up close on this doorway, but he's looking to catch them off guard. And remember, he's got the support from the player in pit. That comes in the form of Nekkis. Smoke down, up close, Steel goes in. He's listening for some kind of a push, some kind of a flood forward, but at the moment, G2 haven't necessarily put the pedal to the metal, and now they will. We do get 2 quick entries. Steel now alone, and the mag goes dry. The bomb still not down yet, but they have retrieved themselves weapons. Look at the damage, though, Hugo. That's the thing. G2, they're lucky to be up in numbers, and now they have to hang on.
It's all about the next kill. If Luminosity lose a player here, they will have to save that final gun, but if they get the next pick, maybe, just maybe, that will tempt them to go for this retake. Hugely favored for G2, even considering the low HP, and they have no need to peek as well. Smiths is waiting for contact on the site, and once that's made, the pit players can fight as well, but it will never happen because Luminosity, they've tucked tail. They've run back towards that B-bomb site, and they want to keep these rifles in their hands, but G2, their second round taken, Connor. Forced by wars ensuing, and while we had, in the previous map, streaks of rounds, 7 in a row for Giants, 8 in a row then for North, I think this is a game where we're going to have a very scrappy back and forth forced by war for a bit of a while.
So they get back their Galil and their AK-47. They add a FAMAS to the mix. And more importantly, they get themselves back on the board. But I do still feel like that was very shaky.
Yeah.
We had the smokes all over the place. If it wasn't for those 2 kills and the pit player and the man on site, I feel like if you had lost Steel as opposed to the deep pit player, or had you lost Steel as opposed to the bomb site player, then there would have been more of a stake and more of a defense from Luminosity. But the one man that survives is arguably the one who is in the least impactful position. So now we get this flurry of grenades back and forth towards Banana. It is smokes, frags, and Molotovs aplenty. So much utility being thrown out here from the CTs. They will sit back with 2 smokes, a frag, and a flash. And half of that sits on the belt of Yell, who we see up close and personal, chucking out the boulders, dealing some substantial damage off of it.
Yeah, scrappy start, though. No kills found from this early Banana aggression. Now Luminosity have to resort to winning their duels. They've got a single flashbang left up. Not enough to force any kind of frags here from the CT side, so they sit back with the quad A setup. Henny alone on B. G2, where will they look to pry? Because, again, the bomb's still down the bottom of Banana. They could attempt to retake control of this part of the map. Henny's posted for a quick shot in the full back, but the flashbang going to force him off the angle. He does get some damage, but nothing from it. Retreating towards B and maybe calling for a rotate would be a prime decision because G2 have set up with 3 players here and the bomb, but it's only a fake. Back towards middle they go. With 30 seconds left, Luminosity still holds strong on this quad A setup. This could be perfect.
This is a killer crossfire, and it's so crucial that Lucas gets a kill before we see the retreat, but then Steel only gets 1. Yell surprises with the spray down, dropping bomb, and leaving this all on Shox, who walks out, finding one beneath, and it's quickly traded back, so we are exchanging rounds back and forth. Chad said it on the desk. We could get ourselves a very close matchup in terms of rounds being exchanged, and my God, Hugo, that's exactly what we've had so far.
Yeah, no consistency here, as you could probably guess from fairly new rosters on both sides, or at least new additions. Still got that core of Luminosity that's been a while since Steel was added, but G2 looking to try and find success here in Spain. It's pistols for now, really not a lot. Couple of flashbangs for existence. We may even see just this apps pop, try and get them quickly into pit. And with Luminosity playing aggressive mid setups and crossfires, it means they kind of negate the apartments, especially with having 3 players early in the B site. This means now this setup for G2 is looking a whole lot more profitable, but Yell wants to smoke it off and try and delay this push. G2 don't care. They dive through, and Yell's going to have to find something, and it's only damage, finally converting to a frag, and the bomb dropped, but G2 have pit control. Problem is, no rifles, no range, no heads. Yell's finding more and more kills, and body's all that stands.
Yeah, he's so stranded at this moment. I mean, he doesn't even have bombs, so he couldn't even make a burst for the bomb site. That was, of course, the most lopsided buy we've had since the initial. So it was poor G2 working with peanuts, and you can see it turns into nothing for them.
What we've had now for those first few rounds, 4 buys back and forth, G2 just accepting their loss there and taking a pretty much full eco. Very rare to see, as you kind of mentioned a couple of rounds ago. We expect these French teams to be force buying a lot, and they always have in the past, but Existence putting in some structure, telling them, no, this is Glocks. We'll give this away. We'll go for the buy in the upcoming round. And again, if G2 think they're the better team, there's nothing wrong about giving away those rounds and going for rifles. If you think you're the better team, and they should be the better team, they should be going into rifle rounds confidently. And now with the pause coming through, trying to set themselves up for their next buy, let's see what they can show us.
And they've also won 2 of the first 5 rounds, having lost the pistol, or excuse me, having won the pistol. So they're a little short still onto what could have been, but they realize that they are still in a prime position with this one round. So this is the one that most matters as of yet. It's an early op setup from Kenny S and a missed shot, which allows for Lucas to cover that gap so quickly. Now Nekis could go unchecked.
Like our monitor.
Yeah.
Well, either way, man still posted on the top of Banana here for Luminosity. Only 2 players left standing here on the CT side, and it seems like G2 are back in control of this round unless a kill can be forced. To clarify as well, we're working off of no monitor right now, so we're doing our best. I can see one on the other side of the room. So again, a push back down towards B here, but G2 still hold that bomb in second middle. It's a very, very slow-paced round considering the fact that Luminosity don't really have much manpower left intact on this CT side. G2 not committing to anything super aggressive, and that's nice and reserved. Just holding on to the extremities of the map for the time being, waiting to see if Luminosity make the next play. It's extremely common for the CT side to get aggressive when they're a man down, and now with 2 men down, the pressure really does reside in the hands of Luminosity to make a call, although time is going to be the biggest factor here for G2. Eventually, they're going to have to commit somewhere. And we'll be towards that A site where Molotov's laying down, a man pushing up through short. And although this flight comes out from the archway, there's a smoke still in middle. And this player on Banana, while he gets a kill, he's too far away from the action. That's another kill coming through for the side of Luminosity. Bomb dropped in middle, and a further position forced. That rotate has come back down from Banana as well. So 2 players in mid for Luminosity. They pinch to the last man. There's only a single player up for G2, and this has gone completely haywire. A 2v4, and Luminosity knocking on G2's door.
That's a crucial round for them to win, and what a high-octane moment as well. We get that creep up from arch side, Hugo. That was the play to make. Throwing bomb down into the open as well on top of it. Well, that just spelled disaster. Crucial stuff here as we see eventually that deep alt peek as well. Having presence of mind to clear back behind.
And G2 in familiar territory now. It's back down to pistols, Connor. They've got nothing to play with. Slight investments, but we don't have Kevlar. We don't have that utility that we need here for the Inferno T side. And Luminosity, armed to the teeth again. This is a very good start to the CT side of this map, but I can't say we haven't seen it before literally an hour ago with Giants running off to a very strong first half versus North, but that's a big kill. Deeg pick coming through in the apartments is going to put G2 at least in the man advantage. And now that's a rifle to play with. But again, no armor to throw it back on. Luminosity going to be able to aim punch their way to victory here.
So they've walked that rifle back. Shocks and Co. wanting to play this side by side. Who's got bomb? That's Body. And Luminosity, having lost a player towards that A site, are still going to keep 3 men in this direction, so Henny has to hold. And they might try to simultaneously peek this from both sides. They can overwhelm the challenge. That would be great, but they've gotten themselves another opportunity. And the first shot goes wide. Henny follows up with the second, and he's not going to fall back. He is confident to hold, but now he's got them! Not the last one. Existence trades back. That's an incredible shot to hit. The collateral in the background in what could seal the deal, because most notably, he dropped bomb. Existence has to double back and get it, but there's already a player here, not watching, but nearby. Existence, working with 16 health, makes a lot of noise as he doubles back to the bomb site. Nekis is going to walk through, and he seals the deal. Luminosity with another round, G2 with a chance, but Henny says otherwise.
Yeah, that's incredibly aggressive as well. It's so common if you see an AWP miss that first, or even hitting that second shot onto Shocks. Typically you just see them fall back and fade towards that B site, considering he was alone, but not Henny. And I see why. A collateral down on that B site will pull Luminosity forward up against pistols in a round that they should never have even gotten close in anyway. And that's going to equip G2 here, because they found damage in the previous, so they're looking to reset back onto Luminosity and get them down on pistols themselves. Good utility from the CT side will keep Existence and Smiths honest, and this AWP is still posted. And he's going to be mollied off eventually, so that allows G2 to take some control towards the top of Banana, and still they hold on to the apps as well, so great map control right now for this French side, but no kills coming through off the back of it.
Shocks with the walk up, bad flash, doesn't pop outwards, will still bide the attention of Steel. Now he has 2 players still ahead of him, right? And that's going to come in the form of Yell's AWP, and I believe, yes, Neck is back behind the pillar, so nobody actually above. The AWP's going to fall off after the first shot. Nekis should then try to make contact here, but he's going to be so outnumbered. Still, he manages to pick up a kill, and Yell doesn't fade away. In fact, Steel comes in to help, and that's going to shut down the first player in Boiler, but we are trading frags back and forth and damage on top of it until all of a sudden, suddenly, things hit a halt. No more pushes, no more peeks. Yell unsure as to what has happened, and then Body drops him.
And that's the A site open for business, Luminosity. They were stacked up with 2 on B just there, so now while 1 has begun the rotation, Lucas is far from convinced. It's only Henny here up in the archway as the bomb goes down, and G2 with still a man advantage and only 1 player to fight on this A bomb site. Even though Henny wins the duel, it's not going to be an easy retake because Lucas has yet to even leave B. He's got to hurry on up, put on his running shoes, because this retake is counting down with time, and while we do have kits to play with, G2 are just not peaking.
Brothers in arms, managing to find another kill. This would be a 2 versus 3 retake win. Not just a 2v4, but Smiths had a chance to line them both up. Now he's been spotted, and he's still trying to deal with them. He's gotten himself the first, but time is there, and the defuse is his. Henny pumped as Luminosity grab a 6th.
2 rounds back-to-back for Henny, finding massive impact on those rifle plays. AWP madness here on Inferno, and it's exactly what we wanted coming into this game, that battle between Henny and Kenny. Although it's right now just Henny, and again, he's going to pick up 3 kills there. So Luminosity with a pretty stellar lead to this CT side, although we are early days, and we do at least have a bomb plant coming in for the side of the French. So a buy on the cards potentially, but a tactical pause before that, work out how they want to choose to invest. And Kenny looking a little bit deflated because he's not yet had really many opportunities to pull out that AWP, but maybe we can see him back on it soon.
The thing is while the score is starting to pull ahead for Luminosity and we're no longer getting that back and forth type matchup, which we did have at the start, we still have close moments within these last couple of rounds, right? This could so easily be a 4-4 game. And not to mention, Economy would be bewildered for Luminosity, but instead they're still ahead of this curve. And they will still have that one op in play. As you mentioned, KennyS not necessarily having the best of opportunities yet to grab the cannon. Smith to take a bit of chip damage. That coming off of utility. And we've seen Hen just work this banana position so well before. What I love about Henny is you never know when in an instant he's just going to push, right? And as a T team, you need to be worried about that. You cannot just get complacent in your setups. You can't have all your players holding out grenades because that's when Henny will just strike you down and catch you by surprise. But he opts not to go forward down banana. Had he done so, he'd find only a single player in the form of Smiths because G2 has instead worked back towards the A site. And what's nice for them is the fact that they're working Arch. And by doing so, they have circumvented the 2 players over towards pit side. And now this rotator in Henny, well, he's fixated over towards library, but he hears the footsteps and he misses his shot. Existence gets the best of him. And now there's an opening to pinch down onto the B site. They have 40 seconds to do so. And the kill's still coming in on the other side, but Steel all the way in the back. Well, he drops the bomb.
And that's a big mistake. Shox had already found a kill on the A site. They could have committed to it. In fact, both A players dead as Nekkers gets caught on that rotate. But his bomb's dropped, as you say. And Luminosity have the sight lines for it. Smith's waiting for an overcommitment, but he's the one who's got to move fast. It's 20 seconds up. These T's need to get control back in the round, and Smith will do exactly that. Massively important kill. And even though Steel trays to find his third, G2 have to commit to this B bomb site. There's not enough time, but Shox with 3 of his own keeps it in the hands of G2, killing both of those A players and also finishing off the round.
Yeah, still scary situation.
Yeah.
We have 2vx scenarios where Luminosity wins, and now all of a sudden in a round that looked like they were so doomed, they still managed to cut it down to a 10-second 1v2 clutch attempt. Had Steel had more than 8 health to work with, then things could have been great. But what's bewildering is after Luminosity have picked up these rounds, they do so in a fashion that leaves them strapped for cash, and they're not going to be able to buy back. They'll pick up an MP9, and they'll have 3 Deegs, 5-7 on top of it as it allows for an extra tidbit of utility. We have that pressure being applied, but the double setup in Boiler is going to be good for a single kill, and there's nobody there to trade back Shox. So an AK, it's been picked up, and it looks to head towards B.
Nice to see after that previous round where Shox was actually killing those rotates on that A site in apartments, Luminosity just decided to straight up counter it. They know he plays there alone, so they double set up knowing that this should be a trade kill. And when you have pistols, a 1-for-1 is pretty damn good. The problem is it might not lead you to necessarily winning the round because with only 2 players down on this B bomb site, G2 look to assimilate and completely overrun this side of the map. Body sneaking through. Boost up. Does spot him. There's a kill for Henny, again having impact. This time with the SMG, and G2 down a man. The gun retrieved from Nekkers. And he's going to be rotating as well as Steel. He's pushed down middle to flank this banana position. G2 are only just making their way to the site. And he's going to be able to have another opportunity, and all he needs to do is stay alive.
And they have no smokes. There's no utility here for G2, so they just have to straight up cover. And by doing so, KennyS overextends. The players in the bomb site are flashed, and now they're all dead. Nekkers with a double as he works around from banana. A great round for Luminosity considering their bye. And this is looking dire for G2. They are not in a good position at this moment. They've already used 2 of 3 pauses, and we're not even at the 15th round yet.
That's a reset as well, Connor, on top of that. 7-3. G2 getting all their money completely shoved out of their hands, combined with the fact that they got a bomb plant, but it's $2,200 is all they had to play with, plus kill reward. And then he saved money from prior rounds, which isn't a lot, I can tell you that now. And as you can see, we're back to old French style. But I don't blame them here. Upon a reset, very common, you're going to see a force on the T side because it's a double eco regardless. This may limit their utility in a couple of rounds' time, but for now, they're going to have some they're going to have some pistols and a rifle. Luminosity, not equipped with that AWP on Henny, but to be honest, that's probably a saving grace considering G2 have these CZs.
A lot of a group up over towards the apps. 3 players creeping and crawling, and the bombs come over too. Luminosity, they're just going to anchor one side of this. They could make it to Arch if they were to sprint, Hugo. Especially with this utility, which could just cordon off the vast majority of LG, but there's the bomb thrown at the feet. Talk about a reward. Existence and Smith, sure, they pick up a couple of kills apiece, but now it's Body stepping up and steals inside the smoke, tip to tip with Shox. Shox should know. He doesn't call it. Shox hasn't figured out why he couldn't exit, and now Steel still only gets himself one, but that buys time for Existence to shut them both down. The IGL of the Frenchman grabbing the gun, both hands, and splattering skulls on the A site.
One thing I've been really enjoying is this aggressive short setup from Luminosity, but every time they've run it, G2 have managed to trade effectively, at least down to the same amount of players. But in this round, they go one step further. They take a man advantage. So really nice work from G2 up on short side, able to contain Luminosity's aggressive peaks in the quad. And now that's put them down to pistols themselves. It's Deagles and a FAMAS here for Luminosity. We've seen them do more with less, but this one is asking a lot of Lucas, and that's not going to happen. Smith shuts him down in the first fight. Henny, P250 in his hands, maybe calling for a rotation, as he is the only man on that B site, but Luminosity still stand tall on A with 3 players, and in fact, they're going to completely forego that B site. With that rotation from Henny, they are gambling here. And let's see if G2 are the betting men. They walk into this quad stack. Although there's no utility to hold off from Luminosity, there are at least Eagles, and we know how dangerous they can be.
They did feel that presence up close, however. It's going to be a scary situation there. Oh no, down a man. Body dropped. And now we get this double CT setup where they're going to be shooting over each other's shoulders. Henny able to trade after the first, but his mag goes dry, so he dies to Kenny S. Despite all this damage being done, however, it has primed the remainder of Luminosity for success. Kenny S has to be cautious. He's got a player just next to him. That could have been a big moment, but Nekis flubs the opportunity. And now all these Ts are going to trickle past Steel, who is going to go unchecked. No, the bomb does come down to his feet as he gets another kill. There's 25 seconds left, and they need to find a way to unroot him from this position, but he's going to take this chance to duel. It's individual fights, which he was afforded, but he can't make the most of his opportunity. Existence guns him down, and that is going to be G2 yet again with another round.
A nice call from Existence in the last second as well. That rotate of the bomb towards B to leave Existence alone, holding on to that last player in the pit, keeping him contained. It means, yeah, okay, you're giving him 2 1v1s, but they're so difficult to win out, both of them, in fact, that statistically G2 should always be winning that round, and they do. Again, the SMG up on Smiths, because this time Luminosity haven't forced the issue. They're down to flat USPs and nothing else. So a 6th round surely going to be taken here from the French. Instead of an A stack this time, it's quite the opposite. 4 on B for Luminosity. And the fact that G2 have been, really good, or at least Shox has, at lurking around and finding these A kills means I'd be surprised if G2 ran into this stack. Shox has already killed a player on that A bomb site. He's definitely going to be lurking in through the apartments and hallway, looking for a little bit more. So G2 not going to be forced to make any kind of rash decisions in this round with no pressure from Luminosity. So they will be convinced of going back towards A. The bomb sneaking its way through middle, and Existence trying to sell the fake.
He's still got Smith behind him with that AK, so Smith's waiting for the coffin peek, and Existence is going to try to clear these close corners using that SMG. In the meantime, bombs found the site secured, so they know that the entirety of Luminosity waiting in the back of the darkness, not going to get a chance to turn on. They've just all been turned away. Existence just milking the cash cow. And that makes sense, right? We had this back and forth scenario at the beginning of the game, 4 rounds being exchanged, and then that spree from Luminosity where they collect 4 off of the back of it. Well, now we had that back and forth instance yet again, and it seems to be G2 who are doing the exact same thing. So talk about similarities here in this matchup. This first 15, Hugo, has been back and forth with flurries of rounds and also sprees.
And someone you mentioned as well coming into this game, the hard carry for LDLC before joining this roster, Existence, the caller. He's top of the board here. 15 kills right now on the IGL for G2. Rallying the troops here in round number 14 to try and secure this half in their favor. If they get this one, Connor, it's very likely we see an 8-6 T side, 8-7 T side, sorry. It's a good opportunity here for G2 to exploit, and the fact of the matter is Henny, the top performer for Luminosity on that AWP, is now down on a rifle. So money is the problem here for the Brazilians, and it may come back to haunt them. Smiths diving up through Banana, there's Henny on the other side, hiding around the Molotovs. They surely won't expect this position after so much spam damage. He's yet to peek. He forces the fight, but Smiths wins it. G2 with a man advantage, make that a double. Bodies even drop the man on A. This is going to confuse Luminosity as they don't know which site's being hit.
This is just like last round where you had Smiths and Existence working the B site with that 3-man core going with bomb onto A. Completely mirrored instance, however. They've thrown the bomb carrier towards B, and then even then, Hugo, they don't seem to want to execute out. Although, losing a player towards balcony could convince them to further their expedition. If they were to commit into B, well, they're going to find a single player there. And now knowing that there's a man back by pit, you know maximum one player on the B site, if not completely free for the taking. So it falls onto Lucas, and he's going to get nothing done. Peeks wide as Kenny S and co. get themselves cleared of the corners. Steal in a 1v4 gets nothing at all. Existence shuts down the flank. He has been very aware of the rotators and their positions. And as you said, leading by example as he hits more than 15 kills.
Gone from a big multi-kill round to a team ace. Everyone there on G2 punching in the numbers. And that is even Stevens here on Inferno. So G2's chance now to get their 8th round on this T side and finish off the half. Luminosity have little to say against that. 2 UMPs, an MP9, a shotgun, and a pistol. It is not a good round for Luminosity, and it's already started off just as badly as you would think. Yell gets shut down trying to nade middle, and fast mid-play for G2. The AWP of Kenny chases up the top, looking towards the balcony, but that's not really a position where the AWP's going to shine, especially up against the Mag 7. Does not want to risk his life, so Luminosity just hold fast in middle. Still 3 players here. G2, no reason to quickly execute onto a bomb site here after that pick. They have so much time, and they know that Luminosity's money is going to be crumbled. So utility on this CT side, they can burn out pretty quickly without too much hassle. With only 3 smokes left and 2 HEs, that's pretty much exactly correct.
Still, clearing out apartments could be a huge issue. Remember the shotguns up in there too. Thing being, of course, you can hit either bomb site without needing to clear apps, but they hear this jump. And he's going to hear the movement, and instead he decides to take the kill to Kenny. Now the MP9 swings wide, and that's going to be another frag. We're back into even keel, 3v3, but bomb's going to be retrieved and possibly pushed towards B, where it is, again, just Lucas, alone. And unfortunately for him, the less equipped of all. A deagle in his hands and 2 rotators coming over. As quick as their feet can possibly move them, they'll get into CT spawn, and the deagle's done nothing. Steele pluming a smoke at the feet of the T's, and the spray down back from Smiths is good. They've shut it all down. G2 finishing strong with a 5-round spree.
Yeah, fantastic work there in that final round as well. Existence getting the entries when required and not even looking close for Luminosity with pistols. They get a couple of frags early on, but that B site was not a hassle. And G2, an impressive job of pulling it back from such a strong start from Luminosity. That was, what, 7-3? And then, as you say, a 5-round comeback from G2 to put them in the lead at the end of the half. They are going to be very comfortable with that. Assuming things can continue with a pistol round here, maybe reality will be restored here in Valencia, and we may see G2 run away with this game. But I would say that Luminosity shows signs of life. A lot of that latter part of the half was down to them having a mismatched economy, that force buy after them getting reset, and then, you know, just going back and forth with a couple of USP rounds here and there. We didn't actually see that many rifle rounds out of the 5 that G2 won in a row. So, yeah, Luminosity not out of this game by any means.
I think there's really kind of like, there's 2 segments of that half that really stand out, and that's the 1st to 4th round, where we have the pistol for G2 and that first flurry of rounds exchanged, and then the 8th to the 11th where the exact same thing happened. And it's, again, notable that each time a different team comes out with that momentum, with the economy advantage. And then also remember that in Luminosity's initial spree of rounds, those 4 they won, 2 of them come off of the back of a 2 versus 4 and another in a 2v3 retake. Yeah. So those are big individual moments for Luminosity that secured them, again, what wasn't even the majority of rounds. So I would argue that G2 are still primed, especially as they finished off the half with momentum, as seen previously with North versus Giants. That is what translated to a very quick win once they swapped sides. So the Frenchmen on the defense and stacked up towards this A site where most certainly Luminosity have their eyes set.
Flash is already over the top, but Smiths has no top. His head's gone. Lucas finding the quick dink, and Body responding. Existence on the crossfire as well. They are doing work. And somehow it goes back down to the 2-on-2 with Henny starting to gain some control towards that B bomb site. G2, no idea. They've completely rotated off. Kenny will hear the footsteps of these charging Ts, but with no smoke to cover the cross, gunfights will ensue. And Kenny favored, but it doesn't matter because those shots from the Glock land strong, and the bomb down on the site, leaving shocks for the retake.
Really, really good play there from Henny to jump up onto the railing in order to offset the crosshair of Kenny, and then what that does is, as Henny commits to the duel, his teammate can swing beneath, finding Kenny off guard, and what looks like securing the pistol. Yes, certainly. Shox' shadow gives him away, and then they both commit to the duel. So, Luminosity, Hugo, despite not having the 8th round to their favor at the end of the first half, will, of course, pick up this pistol. Now, the question is, can they convert these points? Can they get themselves back in the lead? Because it's been quite a while since we've seen them there. They're going to have a near force buy to work against. It is a lot of smokes for G2. And this buy immediately, to me, translates into one of these moments where you're just going to burn off the clock. Inferno is a beautiful map in the sense that utility blankets everything. It is very narrow lanes. Like 80% of this map is a hallway. And so if you can deploy these smokes at the right time, just before Luminosity go to take a step forward, what you're going to do is boil this down to the 30-second mark. And that's when things can get sketchy. That's when all of a sudden Luminosity have to execute in without information, not knowing if there's a stack. So if they can get a kill before the minute mark, if they can get a kill still within 45 seconds left in this round, I think Luminosity are good. But if G2 can hold them at bay and then smoke them away, this could be another upset.
Fact of the matter is, 1 minute on the clock, not a single smoke used. G2 have not been pressured, so now with them starting to come down, this really could come back to haunt Luminosity. They've got to be extremely careful, and this may come down to a desperation play through a smoke. No flashbangs for Luminosity to even get themselves through them, and G2 get to throw them out. One's gone down from existence, but with 4 still standing strong, G2 have a very good chance to actually slow down this round. There goes another. Luminosity starting to realize the error of their ways and going for this slow, methodical approach that would typically be a beneficial one. And Kenny S on the other side, he's going to spam through. Damage done, forced back, smoke in from Luminosity, puts him in the archway, but it's going to be the B site where no utility apart from flashbang remains for G2 to hold on.
This could still be fantastic. This could hold back some kind of a push or give Shox a chance to succeed. He swings out and it's just a kill instantly against him. Body's chance now as he lines up players, but he can't get more than one. And so Existence alone, stranded towards the opposite side of the map. Again, a scary situation made possible by time, and time alone. Once we get into the duels, well, Luminosity looked great, but it was the fact that they had to get all of those kills in a mere 20 seconds.
That's terrifying. That's a really nice setup, though, from G2. I want to see that a lot more in Inferno. Again, it's so common to see second rounds for T-sides after winning pistol play slow and methodical like Luminosity just did, which means those smoke setups are so strong.
And what's incredible, too, is that they were managed to hold on to their smokes for so long. They used the smokes of Luminosity against them. We saw Luminosity smoke arch side, so G2 just held off on using theirs. I can't help but feel like if you had maybe a smoke towards Banana still, then things get really scary because Shox would have dueled versus players who could just walk in blind. But there's nothing for G2 in this round. Not a single cent's been spent, and yet despite that, they've still picked up a double. Body with a kill and an assist. As Shox has fallen, Yell was patiently waiting for that overextension in order to grab a gun, and instead he takes a bullet between the eyes. So Kenny and Smith's anchoring the A-site bomb, working in this direction, but seeing as Steel has wrapped arch side, they might just exit towards B.
It's an option, but Luminosity don't want to exploit it. Even though they have banana control, they were expecting somewhat of a stack from G2. It's not the case, so these USPs might have some effect considering they haven't been spotted. Yell has no idea, he's getting spammed from Smith, so eventually drops down. And hey, that's a successful round from G2. 3 kills with 0 investment. I'd say that's a 1 round for them, but of course with Luminosity now on double digits. They're waiting for the buy of G2.
They had more footing in that round than they did in the last with all those smokes and purchases.
And now that means, because 3 kills came through for G2 in that pistol round, if they win this rifle round, they have a very good chance of resetting Luminosity and putting them back down to a force buy or an eco here. We have some players with money, like Steel with 4K, but 2 players, Yell and Lucas, had nothing.
Ooh, I don't like this. Kenny S comes into the round with no armor. It's your first gun round, and all he can afford is that off. You can see how he is a liability as he tries to go for the jump cross, tagged down to 40 health just because of rifles. Not even an op shot included. But he will reel himself back in towards Arch, anticipating some kind of a mid-peak. And LG gonna sit patient. I feel like since we're into the gun rounds now, and we have not had one since the switching of the sides, this is a really good chance for the Brazilians to feel out the French.
But this is the problem here. Passive B play, and only one man to do it. Shox will call for that rotate, and well-timed as well. We've actually got the 2 players with a plethora of utility down on this B bomb site, so they can continue to delay Luminosity, who are desperately looking for something on B. Lucas is just trying to sell the fake and kill rotators, but he may be the one going down after all. As Kenny S moving back in along with this AWP. The timing could be awful because he's fighting up on short, and Existence will shut him down. Kenny with a late peek clears it out, and that's actually caused G2 to rotate a man over. So solo B player for Shox, he's going to get spammed through the smoke, blinded up as well, and dropped by Steel. The site's open for business, and deep smokes and Luminosity mean that G2 can't fight back.
I love that deep smoke grenade. It allows for them to wrap around construction. You ensure the safety of the bomb. Shox just caught off guard by that flashbang. That, to me, is really what made the difference. He had the supporting grenades coming over. He had the teammates just beneath and behind him. But there is still something of this round for G2 to play with. Existence got a crucial kill towards Banana, and Henny's going to shut that down now. But unfortunately for G2, it was Existence's kill which called these 3 remaining players back into action. Luckily for them, Luminosity don't force those gunfights, and they're not going to punish the retreat. But you could see how his Existence made an opportunity there. There was ripples, but no waves.
Hey, he's made a lot of opportunities. 21 kills right now, top of the team. It's Kenny S, 9 frags for his entire map so far, 20 rounds in, which is a little bit worrying, but Luminosity now going ahead with another rifle round to play with. We talked about the potential of this upset, Connor. And right now, it's looking good for Luminosity at the very least, because they are back in the lead. You said it yourself, it's been a while since we've seen these guys in the commanding victory seat, but now after winning that pistol and able to find the conversions, Luminosity have forced a G2 down. Now the question is, how do they buy up, right? We've got 3 saved guns, we've not got max loss bonus. 4-round loss bonus should be enough to buy up at the very least, so I imagine we'll see rifles coming here for G2, but again, if Luminosity win these rounds, it's buy eco for G2. They're going to be back down to pistols with 12, maybe 13 rounds against their back.
Very animated here. The in-game leader of Luminosity, Steel. Interestingly enough, stepping away from Team Liquid. I'd say despite having showed promise with them. You know what? Twists did an interview where they talked about that roster swap, bringing Taco in, and it was actually because Steel didn't think he could perform at that level of gameplay, and he wanted to take it down a notch. I
mean, one of the most likable and humble guys in the scene, I think we can all agree, is Steel.
Yep.
So,
man.
Yeah. Crazy. But he's finding success here, so maybe this new roster change from Luminosity, adding in this 3-man core of the old Immortals, is going to be able to upset G2 in Valencia for their opening game. Certainly looking good. But can they go the full distance? The one thing we know about CS is the game is never over till it's over. Kenny S wants to make it so. He's found one, but a dive through the smoke from Neckers. 2 frags on B, and it's opened up. As now the site is under control of the Brazilians. These rotates from G2. There's still a man down.
Bomb was back towards spawn, so that does delay the plant at the very least, but this is going to create for an awkward situation towards the A site. We still have a 1v1 unfolding in that direction as G2 towards B are smoked out. Smith needs to get this kill, and he will. That's going to secure the exit for G2. That'll ensure their safety as they retreat for the save. This is a round 1 by Neckers. And I mean, Inferno is going to play into these save situations. I feel like you don't get these immediate save calls as often on any other map than on Inferno, because if you just lose a bomb site in an instant, the rotates are so far away. The utility is so crucial to retake attempts, and especially on the B bomb site, which I think after just 2B could be one of the hardest to retake in the world. So.
Yeah. I think one thing as well for me this game I'm noticing is when we see Luminosity at least perform online, they're so good, right? They top 4 2 ECS seasons in a row and made it to finals and then kind of fell through there. But it's the aggressive, unpredictable style that you mentioned, at least from Henny, and there from Neckers pushing in through a smoke. Typically, when you see them on LAN up against the best in the world, they get punished for that. But right now, we're just seeing crazy, ballsy individual plays from Luminosity that are dragging them through rounds. Henny's aggressive play down Banana in the first half, Neckers diving in through smoke, these aggro short peaks on the CT side as well that, yes, we're being traded, but we're still working out for the side of Luminosity somewhat. And in fact, they're not being punished for this, Connor, and now they're ahead by a good margin. G2 running dry on pauses as well. We may have an upset on our hands.
It's antics and shenanigans from Luminosity. Big play from Neckers in that last round. I mean, those are literally round-winning plays from him.
Yeah.
So very crucial 2K on the Banana. Unfortunately for G2, there was no fast rotate over. Fortunately for G2, they still have cash in their coffers, and they will bounce back on a buy. What's it look like? Well, it's got an op on Kenny S. He's got a teammate in his face and a flash blinding his eyes. Smiths burned around the corner before the gun was even up. That's an easy frag for either Nekiz or Henny, but they combine forces to get it done.
And the question mark is, if you have a triple B setup, why are you sending a solo hero down Banana? Where's the support?
I think the fire kind of forces his hand, but you can bail. You don't have to commit. And he decides to go forward instead of back. Now, Kenny S blasted by Steel over towards the apartments. That's an exchange of frags as we do see Luminosity heading over towards that A site. They want to streamline their way in, and I don't blame them. Little did they realize it was actually open for the taking. They're still a little hesitant, still a little reserved. There's nothing guaranteed just yet because Existence has gotten himself into position. Although he does fall, there's some kind of unwariness going on with Shocks back here towards the graveyard side, but Steel still bails them out yet again.
And with that, that's the round. Body's too far away to even contend with this one. So Luminosity, yes, damage inflicted, 2 low players, but it's another T-side round, and it seems like consistently Luminosity have been allowed to, keep these confident rounds with 3 or more players alive. It's never coming down to the wire, and that's why we have money built up for this T-side so far, because they've been flawless in their endeavors. Another round to play with. That's what, 6 in a row now for Luminosity, with G2 not even gracing this CT side. And they're even going to begin to hunt as well. They won't find anything for it because Body's too far away, deep in the ruins. And this entire half has been ruined for G2. They found nothing. So where is the life here for the French? Where are the rounds?
Nowhere to be found. Not as of yet, that is. CT side that seems to be slipping away. That's the trade frag we had versus Kenny S towards Apps. See, that's the kind of tragedy from Kenny S's position, is if he's posted and waiting for the left side peak, then the right side player can't deal with him. But because Kenny S is extended just that 1 foot forward, he gets the kill to the right, leaving himself fully exposed to the left. Devil's in the details. Ops in the buy. 2 of which for this one. Kenny and Shocks. Equipped with cannons, and where will they be positioned? One towards Arch and the other floating at the other side. So there is a double op pinch going on at this A bomb site where they welcome Luminosity to walk forward. Excuse me, I'm wrong. Shocks is actually at B.
Ooh, missed shot on Banana. Yell's going to be given a second opportunity at life, and he'll grasp that with both hands, giving up this part of the map to the side of G2. Not wanting to get picked off early by these AWPs, but Luminosity regroup and set themselves back up for that B bomb site attack, even drawing out of second mid as well. So they're not even leaving a lurk player to try and kill rotations. They want the full execute down on B. And this is just a round where G2, these 2 remaining players have to get kills. If we don't see at least 2 kills come out on the defense before these guys are traded, this round is done. There's no way you can retake. So huge individual antics need to come through here.
Some utility for them to play with, but it's not all too much. The flash from Body's out. All the remaining grenades for G2 are going to be coming in off of this retake, assuming Luminosity get the job done, but it's Body from above to take down 3. All headshots off of the AK. And while Shocks knows there's somebody inside of the smoke, he can do nothing to stop them. It is a 4 versus 2 retake attempt with Lucas and Henny still up. They have won 2v4s before, and they're going to look to do it yet again. Henny has a smidgen of an angle with his eyes up towards spawn, and he sees the cross, but do they expect so many players to be in the back of construction? No. Shocks gets the first, and Lucas on full display is swept away as G2 finally, Hugo, finally hit the board on this CT side.
And it's nice to see them keep 4 alive as well. That would have been horrible if they only got through in the 1v1 clutch and then were straight up reset post that. At least G2 now have some money in the bank. And some rounds on the CT side, or a round, and it's all off the back of this hero play from Body. As we said, we needed someone to step up there, and with it smokes down on the site, it's a nice execute from Luminosity, something different, but it leaves Body so open, and with no flashbang coming through and no trade found, Luminosity, they will lose the round. But the buy is still here. We've already talked about them taking confident T sides and keeping at least 3 alive pretty much every time, so it's not like they can't afford for now. As G2 look to crunch the numbers and try and draw back this game in their hands. Shocks again proactive on Banana with the AWP. He's posted. And now he's going to creep forward as well, hunting for this early kill. No up on the other side. It's going to be Nekiz and Yell holding strong at the bottom.
Welcome. A couple of shots to the side of the head. The Splinters move past. And Shocks bites back. There's the double man setup. Oh, that's superb. I love it. G2 throw 2 players into the apartments to counter the double-sided peak of Luminosity. And while Kenny S baits the player in and misses his shot, Smiths is there to succeed. Both frags are his. This time it's Luminosity caught off guard in the apps. And therefore they fall back to a 2v5. Now, they've worked miracles in rounds like this before, Hugo, but this one is a tall task. Shock's still posted up first and foremost. Body's just back behind him. And he sees the head of the player jumping, just clips it clean off. And poor Yell left over, completely outgunned. This is double digits for G2, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of a swing back here for the French.
Yeah, maybe taking some time to warm up on this second half. It's Shocks with 3 kills. Some strong AWPing coming out from him, even though Kenny S is fairly quiet this game. And I don't think that seems to be a huge problem right now if Shocks is hitting his shots like that, because G2 are back in business. This is the 2K from Smiths. I'd love to see this from his perspective, and that is a nice transfer, yeah. Kenny S not even needed in apps, as G2, as you say, find 10 rounds, and now the game really is on. This is their chance to put Luminosity's money back down to dirt.
Remember, G2 picked up 6 of the last 7 rounds in the first half. And they have gotten their first CT round in the 7th of the second half. So it is time to turn things around. It is time to turn up. And this is a solid A-site defense, because Shoxy, well, he's already got his eyes down from Banana, but Nekis looks to blind him. And it's utility dodged, but Shox is going to be just on full display. Standing in the open, and Yell would love to hit this shot.
Flashed off the angle. Luminosity not playing for kills, but just playing for map control here, trying to get G2 back. And Shox is going to go in for more. There's a smoke down. That's going to ward him off. He won't be able to force a kill here. But if you look at how G2 are committed to this A-bomb site, there's no one even on Archway. They're not even considering the possibility of a rat back to B. And that may be a problem, because Luminosity have 4 players up in this part of the map. Just now, Body begins to rotate. But will it be in time? Because will Luminosity push before this second player comes back in? It will be a no. Body's here at the very least, so G2 have a stellar defense here, and 30 seconds left up. Still a bit of utility here for this CT side, but the bomb, it's doubling back. Luminosity want nothing to do with B, and G2 have read it completely wrong. It looked to be the right call to make, but now there's only 2 players up on A, and Kenny S has got the strike.
The player in pit has to lock down Balk because Kenny's got the lane. He's still dropped after only 2. Existence caught out into the open, but Smith gets in time. 10 seconds left, and the kills are going back the way of Luminosity. The plant is theirs. In the nick of time, this one gets in, and Neck is on so low health. Has to be cautious, but Steel's already covering the flank. He leaves the Balk and pushes it back onto Body. He's trying to isolate duels, as of course this player comes back, and he's got the first but not the last. It's Luminosity on the board, and G2 reset after only 1.
Fantastic work from Luminosity there. A massive impact from Steel catching that rotate. That pretty much guaranteed the fact that the retake is not going to happen, and Shox had no idea what was coming through. Money for G2 is going to be a mess after this round, if they lose it, because they've still got the AWP here and a few rifles intact. In fact, Luminosity are the ones with less economy after winning that, because they haven't got a streak to fall back on. It's an SMG up for Lucas. Neck is playing towards the top of Banana, mollied off. Maybe he goes for this optimistic approach again through the smoke. We've seen it before, and while big risk comes big reward. Shox is even going to swap positions. They have just traded in the smoke. Shox put down, and Nekis takes that for free. Can't convert to existence, but the trade is there. I'm so surprised he committed to that.
That's a crucial trade frag back from existence. Body doesn't want to boost. He's going to sit inside this bomb site as some form of anchor, because existence is going to head elsewhere. Now, he can hold off on Arch. If I'm G2, I keep 2 floating around Arch side, because you don't know where Luminosity are, and the previous round showed you that they're willing to play fakes. Yeah. So with 2 players on Arch side, you're going to have that faster rotation. By putting a man deep inside of pit, you are now keeping the Arch player quite committed, because if he leaves, that is a gaping hole to wrap around on B site, and if he doesn't leave, well, it's poor Body set alone.
Well, back to a B execute with just Body, although maybe not. As you say yourself, Connor, the fakes again employed from Luminosity.
This is a good call. Again, the setup that G2 opted into was to get ahead of this A-site commitment. Kenny S is going to be afforded this forward position, and because of that, he does get himself the kill off of the very first shot. But Steel creeps in just over the top of the smoke. Smiths can get nothing done because Steel is doubling down on bodies. It is, of course, still a man advantage for Luminosity, but the health is low on Yell. Steel's been tagged slightly, and barely anyone has utility here. It's just a single flash.
And it's a round that G2 don't want to save in. They want to give this a go, because if they don't, Luminosity hit 15. The next kill will dictate who wins this round. And it's surely Luminosity with the current setup. Yell close on short. Body rounds the corner to his death, and with that, his teammate needs to tuck tail and run away, but Steel spotted the barrel of his gun, and chasing ensues. Existence trying to run back towards that B site. They've already sent Yell up Banana. Steel coming in through the spawn, even spots him going to Ruin. So Luminosity, they should be able to hunt down this last final player for the CT side. And if that does come through, then Luminosity surely bordering a victory here. We already talked about how the money's going to be crushed for G2. And a kill just missing. No. Oh. And there's the money.
Gone. Hey. Happy man. As he should be.
Yeah, 15-10 for Luminosity. This is a perfect situation now. No excuses not to close out this game in this round.
That's big, Hugo. Huge, even. Again, I feel like that entire round falls on the ability of Steel to walk out from balcony with a line of sight into the pit. Because that smoke grenade that popped on the hay bales is what allowed for him to just have barely any vision over the top, and yet that's where he found the man falling off. And they isolated their duels. So the final pause has been called, the fourth and the last. G2 to talk things over as they have to make a 5-round spree, turning this into OT. Trying to force a win, because if not, Hugo, it is an upset to start Group B.
Yeah, and Luminosity proving their worth here in Valencia. We question their land performance, but these couple of roster changes may have made all the difference for these Brazilian players. The Twins coming in and hitting hard. Round 26 now, G2 don't have a lot to play with. It's an SMG and 4 pistols. They do have the utility that has been pretty strong on the CT side. But again, if you can't find the kills around it, it will amount to very, very, very little. In fact, we've only had 2 rounds in this entire half for G2 in all of this madness, so the CT side clearly being a slow down considering they actually led with 8-7 on that first.
Sizing up this A site is Lucas. He's trying to get some kind of a response back. He wants to figure out which positions are being held from G2. They have just now walked past the apartment's hall, and they spotted no setup. Remember, we've seen double stacks up in there, and now they think it's clear, but there is still a player residing outdoors. Balcony held and pit beneath as well. This is going to be Steel to walk out onto the A site. That 3-man core is going to wrap Arch, and every time we've seen this, they have gone into the A site. They have committed fully on it.
However, it could be the error of their ways now with a 4th player rotating through. Henny has picked up Kenny S on the first kill, but body smoked off here on Archway. He's in fact going to get spammed through it as well. Luminosity still with a man in the apartment, but 20 seconds left up. They need to move. Smiths are somehow hidden on the balcony, and they have no idea. Steel catches him getting aggressive, and it's only 1 man left up on A. He's dead, and the round's surely over. Luminosity in a 5-on-2, and even though the time is low, the kills are there, and that will be it. Luminosity with 1 left to find.
And they've got it. Henny, the final nail in the coffin. Luminosity with an upset, a bit of a stun. Because honestly, now Group B in my mind's thrown into the open. If you had to look at that roster and pick out a team, of course, that would be weak in terms of recent LAN performance, it had to be Luminosity. And now they're gonna best G2. G2 beat Navi on Inferno. And now they have lost to Luminosity. So this is one hell of a turnaround, but I'm not quite sure where to place my chips, because does this come off of the back of the fact that Existence was your top fragger? Does this come off of Henny's big performance? Because it's Steel who actually leads the charge in the end, and I think he did a fantastic job of re-cementing himself, not just as a leader, but also a fragger, because there was some great calls in that matchup. There was great mid-round situations, excellent fakes between both A and B. I feel like a whole level of preparedness just shone through from them.
Yeah, no, also from the side of G2, I think there was a bit of a lack as well. We didn't see any of the aggression that we know this team can at least perform on that CT side. Again, only 2 rounds off the back of that. The banana was never taken control of by G2, and a lot of mistakes given away, but fantastic performance from Luminosity. Let's see what the real men have to say about that. Our analyst desk, what do you guys think?
Real men, you know, we've been called a lot worse than that, Chad. I'm not sure. But yes, it is true. G2 have done it. They have taken an L here in Valencia on their opening map of the day, of course, falling to Luminosity.
I thought you were going to say we're the real men because the three of us can grow some form of facial hair.
Mine comes in sort of like, well, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's not
patchy,
pretty.
like G2's results recently.
Ooh, now that was creative. Good job, Chad. Now, guys, this was a rough one. If you're a G2 fan, it was a rough one to watch. What do you think are some of the things that kept them from doing so well?
Firstly, right, if you look at all the highlights, if you're watching that game, you kind of realize that there's not too many mistakes G2 made. Like this play, for example, like Chad was just pointing it out earlier.
Can we just say for a second there, what Henny did, getting an opening kill and not falling back, is not a play that should be praised. It's one that should actually be critiqued. Sure, he got very lucky to hit a collateral there, but that was the wrong decision. He had a fantastic game. That just one thing, it just annoyed me that the fact of the matter was he could have fallen back. And if he'd given up an AWP like that, the bomb site would have been given up and they could have posted up a player like Kenny with the AWP to lock that side down. So just a little critique.
It's kind of how they won all these rounds as well, right?
Yeah.
Like just walking in through the smokes, getting a double kill, opening the B bomb site. So it's more like, not like where did G2 mess up, it's more like Luminosity just went for some of the most YOLO plays I've seen.
A lot of plays, yeah. I think that's definitely a big point to be made. But Steel was more of a rock, right? He wasn't one making the plays so much. On the CT side, he was locking down towards that A bomb site. And then when we came into the T side, he was coming up quite clutch. There were a couple Gambit calls that came out where they stacked 3 players over towards that bomb site, and then G2 went for that mid to B play. Yeah. They ended up winning that round, but it got a lot closer than it could have or should have been. And there's a lot of situations like that I think it leans more towards, you want to say random. Random. Well, this next guy's not random. His name is Steel. And we actually have a chance to get a few words in with him. Steel, buddy, look, you're smiling now. You were smiling a second ago in the booth. You look like you're having fun. Talk to me, bud.
Yeah, bro, of course. We were having a lot of fun. I don't know, maybe it's because the addition of the twins, they are like super fun guys. And yes, indeed, we were having fun.
I've been asking all the hard-hitting questions here still. So when Boltz gets kicked off MIBR, are you going to add him back on the roster and you can have 4 of the core back together, or what's going on?
I mean, that's a good question, but we are not like thinking about this right now. We are going to focus on this tournament. It was like a great first match for us. G2 has been playing good on the last tournament. And yeah, I mean, I don't want to talk about this, and we are not thinking about this. We are not planning any change.
Nice try, Sponge.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying.
Bud. Blake, what do you have for Steel?
Yeah, hard-hitting questions, but Sponge, much more easier. Like on that T side, right? Especially on the T side, we saw a lot of individual plays being made, like walking in through the smoke, just trying to catch G2 off guard. And that was also made when the score was pretty close. I think it was 10-8 or something like that. Was that something which you guys planned for? Were you planning to go for those sort of plays? Because it's high risk, let's be honest, right?
I mean, to be honest, it's not something that we planned. It's just how we play. Of course, we practice like that, and people sometimes think that we are like screaming them on the practice, but that's not true. It's just how like we like to play, and it's our plays are like of the individual players. So I do not need to call that much. I just call like, for example, a default, and depending on how the round it's gonna go, I'm gonna call like how to finish. But our game is basically on the default, and yeah, individual plays.
Now, Steel, you guys have secured the first win here, and that does put you into the winner's match. But how far do you see yourself going in this tournament? Are there any caveats? Are there any sort of reasons you wouldn't win this tournament?
To be honest, I have no idea, because on the practices we were doing like not good. We were like actually bad. So this is gonna be our first test. We were just playing like online tournament, which is not the same. So this is gonna be our first test. And as you said, we are just having fun, and I hope to be at least like, I don't know. I don't like to predict, but I mean, if you go to the semis, it's gonna be good.
It's going to be good, and you are just one step away from that. Well, we're going to let you catch back up with your team, perhaps grab some lunch. Thanks for joining us, Steel, and congratulations. We will be seeing you around. Guys, quite the showing here from Luminosity, and, well, quite the underwhelming showing from G2.
Pretty impressive, though, like first LAN performance of this particular lineup, first LAN game, and it's against G2, pretty convincing win overall.
We have to keep in mind, even though G2 coming into this tournament were in my top 2 teams here, the fact of the matter is they're still relatively new roster. You have to consider Smiths is just coming back to Counter-Strike. Existence has been playing in LDLC more than the doldrums of the Tier 3 kind of environment, so this team still has time to come together. Let's not use the inflation from the ESL 1 Cologne result to say that they're a top 5 team in the world by any means.
Yeah, I mean, let's just not do the impossible there for them. Maybe perhaps the mission is impossible. That is a movie that we have all seen probably once or twice in our lives. I remember seeing it as a kid.
I love Mission Impossible movies. They're fantastic. Tom Cruise, what an actor.
Absolutely.
I think I'm the Tom Cruise of esports.
Okay, you know what? That's actually a poll I would like to see in chat. If you think Chad Sponge Birchill is the Tom Cruise of esports in whatever world down under he came from, go ahead and drop it in the chat right now, #Sponge. And with that being said, we're going to be cutting to a quick break, and it's not going to be impossible to see us coming to this next matchup. It's going to be Ego, and it's going to be a little bit of heroic. Can Freiberg do it? Only time will tell. We'll be right back.